Hey, what's going on, guys? This is D.S.R Reviews on Jobeanvideos, and today what I have to show for you is a bit of a restoration. Now, this is a cell phone. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with Androids, which is obviously the only phones I use, this is the Galaxy S8 Plus. Now, when this phone had first come out, it was extremely innovative, complete redesign on the style of the phone, and it just overall was the step in the next direction for Samsung devices. As you can see, it's a nearly bezel-less display, with the only part of bezel in the front being where the camera notch is. So from here to here, actually let me go ahead and grab a piece so I can just kind of point this out to you guys. Okay. So from here till about here is the only bezel. Sorry, the camera's kind of... So from there to there is the only bezel on the display. And if you guys can see, let me just zoom in a little bit. Right here, this is obviously all glass. It's shattered, but when you get to right here, that is not glass. That is the actual LCD digitizer screen, which isn't really an LCD, it's an OLED when they got to the S8. But this OLED piece right here is all glass chipped away, and here, this piece I'm moving is a piece of adhesive. Now, this phone belongs to no other than Jordan, or Jobeanvideos, and it lost touch due to the excessive amount of drops, and the LCD screen under the glass had broken. So when you turn it on, he has access to some buttons on the keypad, but others do not work. And right here, he got mad at it and hit it with a screwdriver, which, I mean, whatever, that wasn't going to fix it, but you can see some glass is just coming off. So, same thing over here, some glass is chipping away, revealing and exposing the frame, like it is right over here, but it does not happen to show off any of the digitizer. As well as down in this corner, this is showing some of the adhesive and some of the frame as well as a small portion right here of the digitizer. Now, when you look at the frame, there is actually, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but there is a slight bend to the frame past the power button. Yeah, the camera's not really picking it up, but there is a very, very slight bend on the frame. Now, you could see some of the corners here. I don't know if it's going to focus. Yeah, some of the corners are really nicked up on the metal frame, but that metal frame will be replaced. This one, I think, was the worst. Yeah. So this metal frame will be replaced. I had Jordan order a brand new battery, which is right here. This is a genuine Samsung part, as well as a brand new frame with screen, and then a new back glass as well, because the back glass is far worse than the front. Now, I actually took it upon myself to remove the back glass, even though I don't have all the parts in yet. I just wanted to take a look and make sure there was no water damage in the phone. So I'm not going to be fixing it today because I don't have all the parts in. Like I said, the only part I have is the battery and the toolkit for the battery. So I don't have everything. But typically, when you go ahead to remove these back glass panels, what you want to do is apply an excessive amount of heat, not in one spot. You will destroy it. You want to use a heat gun if you have access to one. If not, use a hair dryer on a high setting and go around the phone, starting from the corner and go around for a few minutes. Or if you have a heat plate, that's even better. Now, if you notice this slice in here, that was from me trying to peel it up. That doesn't matter because this panel is not going to be reused. But if you were to, say, reuse this glass panel, you would take a suction cup and you would start it right here. Now, when you have a cracked glass, the suction cup's not going to work because there's going to be air pockets allowed to get into the suction cup. So this, for me, was useless. But anyways, if your panel was not cracked, you would stick the suction cup on and you would pull upwards till you can slip in a metal pry tool, which would then slip in under like so, and you would just go around the phone like this. Now, for this phone, when you get over to where the fingerprint sensor is, there's actually a, let me peel this up, a ribbon cable which typically the fingerprint sensor is attached to right here with some adhesive, which, as you can see, I could scrape it off because there was no purpose of me peeling up the fingerprint sensor when it's not going to be adhered to this back glass to be reused. So I left it down on the phone, and this tiny little ribbon cable is very delicate. There are tons of ribbon cables in the phone, just like the one that's attached to this one right here goes to the battery. I can prove that right here by showing you this. This is the same ribbon cable that is right here, and this goes from the top of the battery plugged into about right there. And this is the wireless charging coil, as well as the main circuit board. And then down here underneath this piece of plastic, which is, I think there's 15 Phillips head screws that hold all these pieces of plastic in. And you have to be very careful as well with these charging coils, because if you rip them, the phone will, well, I don't think with the S8, but I know with all the newer ones, if you do happen to rip them, the phone will get a temperature warning and not charge properly. So here is your battery, which this really doesn't matter. This black piece on top, that will not be replaced when put in. This battery was, let's see, manufactured in, I can't tell because of this foam piece right here. I want to say it was probably manufactured in 2013 or so, but this is a 64 gigabyte silver model of the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Now, Jordan sent me this phone because he got an awful estimate from a couple places, I believe, and then he took it to Best Buy, which usually Best Buy fixes these, and they had told him specifically that they will not be fixing this phone because they are not certified. They only fix iPhones. Now, to fix a screen on a Samsung device is way different than fixing a screen on an Apple device. On an Apple device, the screen is the first thing that comes off, whereas opposed to a Samsung or most Android phones, the screen is the last thing to come off. Personally, I prefer it that way because you get, it's actually easier to take the phone apart, as stupid as that sounds, because when you have access to back here and everything pulls out from the back, you have less components in the frame to worry about, as opposed to the iPhone, where it's all put together and then the frame gets slapped on. And especially with the new ones, the new iPhones, if you crack the back glass, it's near impossible to remove the back glass without tons and tons of unnecessary work, which is one of the main reasons why I prefer the Android phones. It is way easier to repair them than it is the iPhones, and it also, they are more third-party repair friendly. I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't know that I do fix smartphones, and I've been doing it for a long amount of time. So anyways, that's it for part one of this. It will be one whole video, but this is all I can do for today. And wow, his battery is actually just out. All that adhesive is just gone. That is not supposed to be like that. There is supposed to be a ton, and I mean a ton of adhesive right here, just holding the battery in, and it is not supposed to fall out like that. So I'm actually happy I noticed that now. But yeah, so that is it for this. It does power on, but the digitizer does not work. So with that being said, hopefully the part's coming soon. Hopefully I can fix this soon for Jordan or Jobeanvideos. Okay guys, so I finally got in the next part to this, which is the main part. I got the screen in. So here's the phone. Put this over to the side. Now this is what came for me, and as you guys remember, we did have the battery already, and this is a genuine Samsung battery. So this is what your screen's going to look like. Typically when you buy an Android screen, specifically a Samsung, they come with the frame attached. So this is the LCD right here, and then this is the frame. Now let me grab my tool. This right here, these gold niblets, I guess if you will, which are basically like copper. There's a ribbon cable, and these are little contact points that actually touch on the motherboard, and this is the power button. And then over here, same thing, you'll see 4 gold niblets, and that's 2 for the volume buttons, volume rockers up and down, and then 2 for the Bixby button. Then there's a lot more gold contacts. Actually, another thing I should point out right here is this is the copper heat pipe. This is a water cooling chamber. Believe it or not, your phones are water cooled, which a lot of people don't know. It's very slight water cooling. There's a bead of water that runs back and forth up this track right here. Now, aftermarket screens don't have the colors that a genuine OEM Samsung one would. So, for example, the colors won't be as vibrant, but it'll basically get the same job done, and it's way cheaper. Now, typically aftermarket screens, there is adhesive here, which you'll see there is an adhesive strip, but there's no adhesive for these cameras. So this being aftermarket, I could tell due to this adhesive strip. And then the good thing is, because I'll show you guys something else about the phone, this is the adhesive strip to the battery if I just remove this. So that's a good thing. And down here you'll see the, if it would focus, speaker, microphone, Type-C charger, headphone jack. This was one of the last Samsungs to have a headphone jack. I believe they stopped that in the 10 series because the S9 and Note 9 still had one. Now, moving this aside, going right over here, moving the battery aside, you will see that on this one, if I just pop off this back glass, which we already covered in the previous clip. Now, this battery was refurbished. This whole phone was refurbished by, I think it's D.S.R. Now, this company is horrible. They put no battery adhesive on this battery, which is very dangerous. It could actually explode if you don't reinstall adhesive on here, because it's just knocking around in the phone. It's not safe. So that's really bad. And they didn't apply the adhesive properly to the fingerprint scanner, which I had also mentioned, and I didn't realize that it was actually refurbished until I noticed some leftover adhesive stuck in these corners, which you can see all the dirt and grime in there, and that's not even because the phone was shattered. That's just poor craftsmanship on their part, and they apparently are not a good, reputable company if they can't get all the old adhesive off. Now, that is the only thing I'm not going to be covering in this clip, how to put on the rear glass, due to the fact I did not get the part in yet, so this is just going to be the LCD replacement. Some people do prefer to reuse the frame and just swap and put an LCD screen on, because just getting the LCD is a little bit cheaper by maybe $20–$30, but it makes no sense to do that because then you have to spend more time and actually separate the LCD and glass from the original frame, clean off all the adhesive and just all that. It's not worth it. Pay the extra $20–$30, get yourself a LCD with a frame, and do the work that way. Now, obviously, in order to put the new frame on, everything out of here, with the exception of the volume button right here, Bixby button, and home button, and power button, have to come out. So the first thing you remove are, I think I said 15 in the previous clip, there are actually 14, my mistake. 14 Phillips head screws. Now, there is no difference with any of these screws except for this one right here. This one's a little bit shorter. So 13 out of 14 are the same, but still you should practice organizing your screws. So let's go ahead and pop off these screws. Like I said, they are all Phillips, so we're going to go ahead and remove them. So give me 1 second, guys. I am going to remove all these screws, and then I'll be back and I'll show you how to pop off these plastics. Now, when you pop off these plastics, this charging coil is also going to come up with it. Okay, guys, so all of the 14 screws are out. Now, the next step, make sure, seriously, make sure you use a plastic pry tool, because if you use metal, there's a very small chance. But the next step is you're going to have to remove this ribbon cable for the fingerprint sensor. Just pop it off like so, bend it a little bit, not much, because if you know anything about ribbon cables, if there's a slight kink, slight tear, slight anything in that cable, it is done for, and you will need to get a new fingerprint sensor, LCD, worst comes to worst, anything, if you damage the ribbon cable for any of those parts. Now, the next step here is to remove the plastics. Like I said, also make sure you do not mess up this charging coil. Again, it is adhered down right there. I kind of already worked on that in the previous part of the video to make sure that we didn't have any issues. So what you're going to want to do is get something underneath these plastics. These can be a little bit tricky and a little bit of a pain, but once you pop the bottom one out like so, it is super simple to pop out the rest of the plastics. So that comes out like that. Plastic number 2. Now be careful as well for these charging coils, because they are extremely delicate, like I said, and you will actually get a overheating error on the phone if the charging coil is damaged. And as you can see, we removed it beautifully. Do not get worried about things like this. This is just simple adhesive on it that won't really damage anything. As long as there's no punctures or anything on it, it will be safe. So we'll put all these to the side, and as you can see, the fingerprint sensor is on there, charging coil on the front, which this is a copper ring of coils, which that's how it charges through the magnetic pole right there. Put that to the side, and now you're in the phone. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is disconnect the battery. And as you can see, the battery cable is this one right here. Again, make sure you're using plastic. Pop that right out of the way. Now this battery doesn't matter, we're reusing it. Now typically there's just a ton of adhesive holding this in, and the Samsung batteries are one of the hardest phones to actually remove the batteries in. So what you're going to want to do is take a playing card, take the playing card, fold it in half, and go under there, slip it under, put a couple drops of rubbing alcohol, and slice through that adhesive until it's able to just pop right out like so. Put that over to the side. The only thing I'm not transferring over in this phone is this little black piece right here, because honestly there's really no need for it. Is it there for a reason? Yes, of course. They're all engineered in a very specific manner and way by the engineers to be designed for a specific purpose. So this is pretty much just acts as a spacer and a little bit of a heat dampener. Could you, if you truthfully wanted to, remove this and put this onto the new battery? Yes, but I probably will not be doing that. So moving on, next step is to disconnect all ribbon cables that are not going to come off with the motherboard. So one that you'll notice is this one right here. Now, if you really want to, now you can use a metal pry tool, but we're going to stick with the plastic one. Bend that and get that one, or unsnap that and put that over to the side. This camera and this camera you can leave in. You don't have to take those off. And then coming down, there's another one right here, which this is the LCD. Pop this one and bend this one out of the way. This is a antenna cable, which should come off. And then these are 2 antenna cables. Now these you need to be very careful with, because you will actually not get service if you mess these up. I might have to use my fingernail. Okay, those came off okay. Now you're going to want to pop these out of their channel. And then there is going to be another ribbon cable, which is actually, these are two motherboards. This motherboard right here is what has the charging port, headphone jack, and all that fun stuff. Make sure you also disconnect the headphone jack, even though you don't need to disconnect it, but it's better to be safe than sorry, just in case for whatever reason there is an issue. So we are going to pop that one off. You can leave these 2 on, because these are the same exact antenna bands that run all the way to this side of the phone, so those can be left on. Now what we're going to do is we should be able to just pop this motherboard up, unless I'm missing something, which I don't believe I am. So we're going to pop it up back to front, moving these guys out of the way. This is the trickiest part, getting the logic board out without having an issue. Okay, so there we go. And then you'll also see that it's getting caught right over here, so we're going to pull that out of the way. Okay. So here's the motherboard. As you can see, this is the camera, and this has optic image stabilization, which is why I'm able to do this. Rotate the, oh sorry, my finger was in the way, but rotate the camera like so. Now we're going to move this motherboard. I probably should have popped the SIM card tray out, so that was an error on my part. Let's see. another thing that's really good for repairs like this is using a give me 1 second. Is using a guitar pick, if you will. They're really good to use, especially for getting back glasses off and helping with getting LCD screens off and all that fun stuff. They do a really good job as well. But like I said, for our back glass, we didn't actually need it because of the fact that it was so shattered. Now, this right here, you're going to want to be very careful, because if you look, let me flip the phone around. If you look right here, over here, there where this antenna band is that runs down to right here, there are 4 screws on this end of the motherboard. I believe it's 4, yeah. So you have 1 for the headphone jack, 2 for the charging port, this one in the corner, and then, oh no, there's 5. And then there's 1 right here. So remove those 5. Now these are all the same exact screw. There is no difference with these. Once you go ahead and pop these guys out, the bottom board should just simply come right out. And something that's been happening with pretty much all companies now, smartphones and computers, everything, is they are not third-party repair friendly. They use all proprietary screws, such as Apple with their 000 tri-wings, and then you have some Phillips heads, some, I forget what they're called, but it's a screw within a screw. They have all that fun stuff. Samsung recently started doing that as well, and they also made it so that the charging port is permanently soldered onto the main motherboard. So if your charging port ever fails, like what happened in my phone actually, you will not be able to replace it. So that is always a plus. Let's go ahead, pop this up. Out this up. There we go. Now you don't have to be worried about the headphone jack not coming out, because this is a separate piece to the motherboard. So there we go. Now all that we need to swap over is this piece right here up at the top, this piece, and the vibration motor. Those are the only things I believe that need to be swapped over. I think everything else is in there. And if you see this little thing up here with the X's on it, that is a water indicator. So if there's a drop of water that goes on here, it will actually turn pink. That's another thing that they have down on the charging port, and they have them right here. There's a few spots on the phone that actually have those, and that's how they are able to tell whether or not you have gotten water in your phone. So now let's go ahead and just pop out the things like this that need to, I might have to grab something else for this. Let's see, I'll try this. Really, you're supposed to use a pair of tweezers to get these things out. I don't have one with me right now, so we might have to use a flathead. Give me 1 second, guys, while I go ahead and grab a pair of tweezers. Okay, guys, so I actually was able to remove it. It just took a little bit more time. So we got out the vibration motor, the front speaker right here, this piece, which is the front flash, and then that's it for this frame. Now it's just installing it into the new frame. So let me go ahead, get rid of this one, and bring in the brand new frame. So yeah, this is pretty much it. So we are going to go ahead and start by installing the front flash. Simply just goes down like so. That right there. It's gold tape, which really isn't even needed to be put back down, but we're going to put it down anyway, just to do it properly. That's back in its brand new spot. We're going to go ahead and remove this. Now, his front speaker probably will not work properly, just due to the fact that it actually has a crack in it. So I'm assuming that happened during shipping. It may work, it may not work. He gave me his passcode, so we are going to try and test all the functions, making sure that hopefully it does work, because I really hope that this thing will fully work when we're all done with it. I mean, he only needs it to get videos off of, so I guess it's really not that big of a deal. I don't have a pair of tweezers to pull this off with. I was going to grab them, but I was too lazy to do so. To be honest with you, it really doesn't need any adhesive there, so if for whatever reason it does end up falling off in the process of me trying to take this off, it really will not matter. So there is no actual adhesive on the phone holding the front cameras in when you first purchase it, so nothing will really get messed up there. And this is going to be the last piece of adhesive that I do remove, just solely due to the fact that I don't want anything getting on there, because the battery adhesive is very, very important, like I said, because the battery could actually explode if knocked around too much. And with the batteries, when they're fully charged, and you guys have ever seen a video of a Samsung Galaxy Note 7 exploding, you will know that it is not pretty. So we don't want that happening to Jordan. Now, that being done, all that's really left is to throw the boards back in, and then the plastics. So now, in order to put this board in, simply pop it down like so. Kind of click into place, if you will, which it didn't do. Okay. Okay, everything's lining up pretty good right now. Now, another thing you're going to want to do, I want to take a flathead, and there's a little channel. Now, be careful, because, like I said, these antenna cables here, if they are broken, you will need to get new ones, because you won't get reception, nothing like that. So, make sure that those are pushed into the channel, and these are actually not as tight as the OEM channels, so the white wire kind of just pops out. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to play with later on. No big deal, though. And now what we're going to have to do is put these screws back in so that that stays. But remember one thing, which is to put your headphone jack back in. And then we'll worry about connecting that right now. And now we're just going to put the screws back in. There are 5, which we said earlier. First one is this one right here that's going to go in. Then we're going to go ahead and put the one to the headphone jack. All done. Now, I know that on this channel, obviously, we don't usually do phone restorations, but I figured that I would upload it simply because it's Jordan's phone, and he asked me if I could do it, and I said sure. And also, it's just one of those things that, you know, I do that not many people know that I do, and I figured that I should make a video on it because I've been doing it for quite some time now. It's been, I want to say I was in 7th, 8th grade when I started getting into phones, and like I said, not many people really know that I like phones, and I get a new phone pretty much every 6 months to a year. Okay, now these, I'm actually going to move these out of the way for right now because I don't want these to kink or anything. Now this is the other big pain, is connecting this ribbon cable from this side to this side of the board. This is hard to do looking through a camera. Hang on guys, give me 1 second. Okay guys, so I ended up getting it in. The reason why I did it off camera is because, like I said, it was pretty challenging to do while I was in front of the camera. So we're going to clip that in, clip in the LCD ribbon, which this one you need to make sure you pop on properly, because if you do not, you're going to get wacky colors out of the LCD and just stuff you don't want. So then we're going to pop that one in. And then I did actually remove these cameras because I wanted to put them in properly without bending anything. So you can go ahead and do that. Connect that in, and then this one right here. And then we're going to go ahead and push them down a little because, like I said, there is adhesive. You don't really need it, but I'm going to pop them down anyways. Now the last two things that I need to push in are these two cables right here, which these are the antenna wires. These are very crucial to put on properly. If you do mess them up, as I said about 10 times, you will have no service. That one's on right. Now I need to put on the white one. There's actually a tool they make for doing this. I sadly do not own one, and this is my least favorite thing to do on phones, is connect these guys up, because there's just so much room for error with them. This one's giving me a bit of an issue. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go grab a precision tool to kind of push it down. Okay, grabbed it, popped it down. And actually, this one popped off on this end. Good thing I noticed that. But it's the blue one. The blue one's easier to pop down than the white one. Okay. So there we go. That is literally all you need to do. Now the last thing is to just pop on these plastic pieces, which is a quick 1, 2, 3. So those are all the screws, all the ribbon cables, everything. Now we're actually going to put in the battery. So we are going to remove this adhesive right here. Now make sure the battery touches the bottom right there and slips into its groove perfectly. Then just going to connect it. Now with the genuine Samsung batteries, sometimes they fit in the aftermarket frames a little bit awkwardly, and you're going to need to kind of move it around till you connect it right, because like I said, they aren't the perfect fits, but it will work. There we go. That's all snapped in. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and get the plastics all organized, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so here we go. Phone's actually booting up. Let's just make sure it turns on. There's no weird colors in the screen. And so far, we're looking pretty good. There we go. So now what we're going to do is power the device down, which it might not actually work. I might have to hold that screen in. Seems like I will. Power off, power off. There we go. Phone's now powering off. Go ahead and transfer this on. Said I wasn't going to do it, but we're going to transfer that on. Now here we go. Put all these stupid plastic pieces in. Like I said. Now they actually have grooves in all of them, so you have to put them in a very specific way. So with this one, put it right here, slide it under. Can't see what I'm doing through the camera. And then they'll kind of just pop into place. You'll hear them pop in place. Just like so. So let me go ahead and continue putting in these plastics, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, so all the plastics are back on. As you can see, I transferred over that one piece. Let me go ahead and zoom out. Transferred over that one piece right there. Now let's go ahead and power it on. Colors are actually pretty decent, especially for being an aftermarket display. So let me go ahead here and I will type in the passcode off camera. Okay, it's starting the phone. Let me just make sure everything boots up properly. Give me 1 second. Alright guys, so there we go. The phone boots up. I just tested the camera. I tested the LCD screen and settings, and it works flawlessly. This phone is back to brand new. The only thing is that I'm waiting on is the back glass. I will also make a clip showing me installing that, even though it's extremely simple. But here it is, guys. The touchscreen works flawlessly. As you guys can see, I can go ahead and go in the camera, tap everything, autofocuses perfectly, and see on the selfie cam, there I am. Works great, works just like new, so I am super happy with it. Phone has 55%. I'll probably charge it fully for him when I send it back, and this thing should be sent back hopefully within a week or less. The frame is brand new, LCD screen is brand new battery. This phone should last for another couple years to come, and who knows, it's Jordan, he'll probably destroy it again, but it's okay. He needed it for a couple videos to get off, and that's exactly what we did. Now, breakdown in price, let me go ahead and see what he paid for everything, because I believe that he told me, or I sent him some stuff here for him on what he could buy, and I believe I got him everything at a decently discounted price, of the screen being like, yeah, here we go, screen was like $140 or so, and then the back glass was $10, and the battery was another $15, and I'm charging him $75 plus shipping, so I'm asking $100 to do it. So in total, in the end, $240, $50, about $270 in the end, which is actually cheaper than going to Samsung customer service. Samsung customer service charges, I think, $289.95, and then when he was going to third-party repair places such as Best Buy or things like that, they had wanted close to, I think, $400 or $500 to do it, and it was just ridiculous. So like I said, the last thing that we need is the back glass here, but that's literally it. So this phone is completely done, completely refurbished, and I, not to brag, did a better job refurbishing it than the refurbishing company did. As you guys saw, there was no battery adhesive, there was nothing. It was it was horrible. It was just a terrible repair. So luckily this thing is back to full health and back to being pretty much brand new and will last for years to come. So thank you so much for sending me this, Jordan. There will be one more clip of me installing the back glass, but for right now, that's it, guys. So when I get the back glass, it should be here today. I actually recorded this at like 5 in the morning, so it should be here today on Saturday. But yeah, so that's it. I'll see you guys soon. Okay guys, so here we go. We got the last part in. This is the back glass to the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus in Arctic Silver. So let's go ahead and move this aside. There may possibly be something we need to transfer over. Maybe we'll get lucky and maybe this company actually provides the camera lens. Sometimes they do, sometimes they do not. It's kind of random, and I did send Jordan the link for all these parts, all 3 links. So it's going to be on me if it doesn't have that piece. But it will not be the end of the world because, as I said, everything is easily transferable. And it'll be a quick 1, 2, 3. This is the easiest thing to do. If anyone actually does have this issue with their phones, if they, like I said, have an Android, It's very easy. Samsung will charge you, I believe it is $79.95 to get this fixed. The part is, no joke, a $10 part. So let's just make sure they sent us the proper part. Yep, S8 Plus. And there's nothing that needs to be transferred over, because as you can see, it has the camera lens. So give me 1 second, guys. Okay. So as you can see, it does happen to have the camera lens, which is a huge plus, because sometimes it's a metal frame. You do risk actually damaging it when pulling it off. And you also get a brand new rubber gasket right here, as well as a all brand new seal along the whole phone. And you can see there's a seal here, there's a seal obviously all the way around the phone, there's a seal to the fingerprint scanner, and then a little bit more around here just to go onto some parts of the motherboard. So putting this aside, because we don't need this just yet, we do need the phone. So with this being said, it is now time to just pull this old one off like so. Make sure there is no excess broken glass in the phone, which luckily I was careful enough to not get that in there. And now what you're going to do is you're going to just want to remove all of these protective films. Now sometimes like this, the adhesive is going to come up because it was in shipping, it was in transit for a while. Give the seals a very nice, decently firm press down without being too rough, because you don't want to crack the glass. So sometimes it does happen that way where they just peel up. See, now this seal is perfect. That one's staying down. This one right here, do the same thing. Pops right off. All right. That one came right off perfect. Time for the camera lens. So give me 1 second. I'm going to peel these two off. Okay. All these seals are off the rear. Now all that you're going to do is line it up. Just like so. Give it a nice firm press down. Now remember, there is a part of the seal right here, right on the camera, right over there, along the sides, and right here. Now on top of the battery, there is no adhesive, there's none of that. Peel away this fancy little cover right there, and boom, you have a brand new Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Now, as I mentioned, this phone was practically destroyed. Now let's just make sure the charger works, which that should work no problem because we didn't change out the charging port board. But there is a flex cable, so we're going to want to make sure that that is connected properly. Plugging it in. Beautiful, it charges. Let's just make sure we get no overheating or temperature issues, nothing like that, because that is a common failure when you do actually replace a screen. Sometimes things don't work properly. Yep, and it's charging. I don't know if you could read that, but it says 52%. So there we go. And now we're going to go ahead and turn the screen on. And I will show you what we get. I'll unplug it while I do that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember, because this was a big joke going around, the Samsungs with their Note 7s actually had a big issue with batteries exploding, and everyone was, oh, avoid Samsung and all that. But in reality, that was an issue with the frame, or not the frame, the battery was too large, and they could have easily avoided that. And Samsung's been extremely cautious ever since with a lot of their things. So when the Note 8 came out and the S8 Plus, they were very, very scared and kind of downsized on things, downsized on battery size and all that. But there was really no need to do that. They pretty much just did that so that their customers and consumers wouldn't freak out and wouldn't change carriers and all that. But here we go. The phone is on. It is all done. The headphone jack works. I tested that. Charger works. It won't connect to my Wi-Fi, but I did put my SIM card in and it worked. It allowed me to call and do all that stuff. So overall, that's it. This phone is completely done, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video here. It was, yes, I know it was very different than what you normally see on Gemmy Master Animatronics, but I just figured that it would be a really cool thing to show you guys one of my other hobbies I have, which is actually fixing smartphones. I've been doing it for quite some time now. I think I was in like 8th grade, which I had mentioned previously in the video. And it's just cool because it's good money on the side, somewhat simple to do, and just seeing the outcome. I mean, if you saw in the beginning how it looked compared to now, it doesn't even look like the same phone. To be honest with you, the only thing that's really the same about this phone is the motherboard. Besides that, which is pretty much obviously the brain of the phone, but besides that, it is a totally different phone. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And I do also repair iPhones. This is one I did that Apple said they couldn't fix, but I fixed it. Like I said, this is something I do quite regularly now. And if you guys want to see more content like this, let me know. If you guys don't care, let me know. And yeah, so there you go, Jordan. This will be sent back to you soon, along with your old frame signed as a little souvenir. So there you go. That's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.